There is a unique kind of silence that lives inside a relationship. It's the space after you've shared something vulnerable and you're met with nothing. It's the absence of three simple words you long to hear, I love you. When that silence stretches from days into weeks, you begin to feel starved for affection. You start to question everything, your worth, their feelings, the very reality of the connection itself. This quiet agony can make you feel utterly alone, even when you're with the person you care about most. But what if that pain, that deep ache for verbal reassurance, is born from a fundamental misunderstanding? We have all been taught what love is supposed to look like. Our culture, our movies, our songs, our stories have conditioned us to wait for the grand declaration. We have been trained to search the sky for fireworks, that brilliant, breathtaking, and loud explosion of passion that leaves no room for doubt. It's exciting, it's validating, and for many, it is the only proof they will accept. And so, when we are offered something else entirely, something quieter, something steadier, we don't recognize it as love. When we are offered a candle, we mistake its consistent, gentle warmth for a lack of fire. We see its humble flame, and we think, is that all there is? Here is the truth you must grasp to find peace. An avoidant partner does not love you less. They love you in a different language. You have been listening for spoken poetry, while they have been communicating through the silent prose of action. They have been showing you their heart all along. Today, we will stop the translation errors. We are going to hand you the dictionary. By the end of this video, you will become fluent. To understand their language, we must first understand the architecture of their inner world. It is not built on open plains. It is designed for defense. Psychologically, for someone with avoidant tendencies, intimacy is a profound paradox. They desire it as much as anyone, but they fear it with an intensity that can be paralyzing. Their core fear, you must understand, is not the fear of being alone. It's the fear of being consumed. It is the deep primal terror of losing their independence, their very sense of self, inside the overwhelming closeness of another person. This is why words for them are so dangerous. A phrase like I love you is not just a feeling to them, it is a contract. It is a binding promise that carries the immense weight of future expectations. Every verbal declaration feels like a new law they must now live by, a performance they must constantly uphold. This feels less like freedom and more like a cage. Actions, however, are different. An action is finite. It exists in the present moment. An action can be interpreted as simple kindness, allowing them a psychological escape hatch. If the pressure becomes too great, an action is safe. A vow is a threat. This brings us to the central metaphor for understanding their heart. Imagine their inner self is not an open home, but a well-guarded fortress. Its walls are high, built over a lifetime to protect their autonomy. Saying, I love you or I need you feels like throwing open the main gates, risking a total takeover to them. It is an act of profound recklessness, an open invitation for an army of expectations to march in and occupy their territory. So the question becomes, how do they show care for the person waiting patiently outside the walls without surrendering the fortress itself? They establish a supply line. This is the absolute key. Fixing your leaky faucet is a delivery of stability, giving you sound. Practical advice is a shipment of protection. Remembering a small detail about your favorite coffee is a carefully curated care package. These are not random acts. This is their entire deliberate strategy for loving you safely. It is love disguised as logistics. It is intimacy managed as inventory. It is the undeniable proof that even though the gates remain guarded, the person inside is thinking of you, providing for you, and deeply invested in your survival. Philosophically, this forces us to ask a difficult question. Does love require a declaration to be real? Or can its truest, most steadfast form exists entirely in what is done, not what is said. We begin with the most common and therefore most tragically misunderstood of the avoidant languages, practical acts of service. This is not the language of poetry. It does not whisper sweet nothings in your ear. It is the language of problems solved and burdens eased, and for that very reason it is often dismissed. You may have received this language countless times and not even recognized it as a dialect of love. You saw a repaired bookshelf and wished for a passionate letter. You saw a defrosted windshield on a cold morning and wished for a warm embrace. It's easy to overlook the profound care hidden within the mundane. So let us be clear. Here is the critical shift in perspective you must make. When they quietly take your car for a maintenance check, or assemble that complicated piece of furniture you've been dreading for weeks, or simply cook you a meal after a long day without needing a grand conversation, they are not simply completing a task. They are engaging in a form of environmental regulation on your behalf. Psychologically, they see a problem in your world as a source of stress, a broken appliance, a logistical challenge, a looming chore. These things disrupt the peace. By restoring order to your environment, they are actively and methodically working to reduce your cortisol levels. It is their most direct and tangible way of saying, I want your life to be easier. I want your world to be calmer and more functional. Because your peace is my peace. It is a direct investment in your well-being. Philosophically, this form of love is perhaps the purest. It seeks no applause. While a passionate declaration can represent a fleeting feeling, the act of consistently showing up to solve your problems is an expression of steadfast, reliable commitment. It is love that doesn't just talk about building a life together. It shows up with a toolbox and gets to work. It is the difference between a promise and a proof. And for the avoidant, proof will always be more valuable. Our next language is perhaps the most subtle and the one most easily mistaken for indifference: quiet presence. Imagine this scene. You're in the living room, absorbed in a book. They're at the other end of the sofa, scrolling through their phone or focused on a laptop. Little to no words are exchanged for an hour or more. To a mind that craves active connection, this shared silence can feel like a chasm. It can feel like you are alone together. You might begin to wonder, are they bored with me? Have they forgotten I am even here? But here is another essential reframe. The avoidant brain interprets this scene in the exact opposite way. To them, this shared silence is not a sign of disconnection. It is the ultimate sign of security. Psychologically, for many people, being around a partner requires a certain level of social performance, active listening, engaging conversation, emotional validation. This performance, while often wonderful, consumes energy. For an avoidant who is highly sensitive to the pressure of expectation, the constant need to engage can feel deeply draining. What you are experiencing in that quiet room is what we call parallel presence. The ability to simply exist in the same space, pursuing individual interests without the heavy obligation to entertain one another, is the highest compliment they can give. It means their nervous system is completely at ease around you. It's their nonverbal way of saying, I do not need to perform for you. Your presence is not a demand. It is a comfort. It is home. Think of it like two ships sailing on a calm sea. They are not tied together with ropes, which would feel restrictive and dangerous. Instead, they are on a shared journey, navigating the same waters side by side. Each is its own vessel, yet they find solace in charting the same course. This challenges our modern definition of intimacy. Perhaps it isn't always about fusion, but also about the quiet trust that allows for autonomy. It is a connection so secure it doesn't need constant proof to know it exists. If the avoidant heart is a fortress, then their solitude is the inner sanctum, the one room they keep just for themselves. This space, both physical and mental, is sacred. It's where they recharge, regulate their emotions, and feel free from the pressures of the outside world. It is the one place where their true, unguarded self can breathe. This sanctuary is non-negotiable, and very few people, if any, are ever granted an invitation inside. So when an invitation is extended, you must recognize it for the monumental act of trust that it is. It may not sound grand. It might be them inviting you to simply sit in their home office while they work, sharing the silence. It could be them handing you an earbud and saying, "You have to hear this," sharing a song from a deeply personal playlist that is the soundtrack to their inner world. Or it could be them taking you to that hidden spot in nature, the one they always go to when they truly need to be alone. Do not mistake this for just sharing a hobby. This is a profound act of vulnerability. They are willingly letting you past the outer walls and into the private courtyard of their fortress. They are testing the waters, seeing if your presence can coexist with their peace. Psychologically, this is the ultimate test of safety. An intruder brings chaos. A trusted partner brings calm. By inviting you into their sanctuary, they are making a powerful statement. I believe you are the latter. I believe my sacred space is still sacred. Even with you in it, this gesture is in many ways more intimate than a kiss. A kiss can be an expression of passion. Sharing their sanctuary is an expression of absolute trust. And for the avoidant, trust is a far rarer and more precious currency. There is a common and painful assumption made about the avoidant partner that they are not truly present, that they don't listen because they may not recall the exact date of an anniversary or the emotional nuances of a past conversation. You can be left feeling unseen. This can feel like carelessness. It can feel like you are sharing the landscape of your life and they are not truly looking. But this is where we must differentiate between emotional memory and observational memory. While they might struggle to recall the feeling of a moment, their mind is often operating like a high-resolution camera, quietly capturing specific, concrete data about you. They may not remember what you argued about last Tuesday, but they will remember the name of your childhood pet that you mentioned once months ago. They might forget to send a text saying good morning, but they will order your coffee with the exact complicated specifications you prefer without even having to ask. They remember the story behind a small faded scar on your hand. This is not just a good memory for trivia. Psychologically, this is proof of focus. Their attention is a limited, carefully guarded resource. The fact that they allocate its processing power to the granular details of your existence is the ultimate evidence that you are the primary subject of their observation. They are studying you not to be invasive, but because they are genuinely, methodically trying to understand what makes you you. So what is more intimate? A partner who remembers to buy flowers on a designated holiday because a calendar told them to, or one who remembers the quiet, seemingly insignificant details that form the very fabric of your being. Their love is not written in sweeping poems. It is archived in a library of tiny, specific, and irrefutable facts about you. And in that library, you are the most referenced book. Our final language is perhaps the most primal. It does not originate in the conscious mind, but in deep-seated instinct. It is the language of the silent guardian, protective. Now we must be very clear. This is not about control. It is not about telling you what to do or limiting your freedom. That is a function of anxiety and insecurity. True protection in the avoidant language is a quiet background process. It is a shield you may not even know is there until the moment you need it. You see it in the way they subtly position themselves between you and a stranger who feels too close in a crowded room. You hear it in the brutally honest but deeply practical advice they offer about a risky career move. They are not trying to crush your dreams, they are trying to protect your future stability from a threat they perceive. You feel it when they quietly shut down a piece of gossip about you or defend your character when you aren't there, not with a grand speech, but with a single, sharp, dismissive sentence. Psychologically, this behavior stems from a simple, powerful shift. They have unconsciously categorized you as valuable. You are no longer just an external person they are involved with. You have become a precious part of their inner world. And just as they instinctively protect their independence and their sanctuary, their instinct now extends to protecting you. It is a risk mitigation strategy for the heart. This form of love doesn't always ask how you feel. It acts to ensure that you are safe. It is one of the clearest signs that their fortress has expanded its walls to include you within its protected perimeter. These 5 languages, practical service, quiet presence, shared sanctuaries, remembered details, and protective instincts, form the lexicon of the avoidant heart. They are quiet, subtle, and often invisible if you are only looking for fireworks. But now you know the code. You have the dictionary. You can recognize the words, but knowledge alone is not enough. The final, most crucial step is learning how to respond, because how you receive their language determines whether the conversation continues or the door to the fortress closes once more. The single greatest mistake is to take their action and demand that they translate it into your language. When they perform an act of service, you cannot immediately ask, "So does this mean you love me?" That is pressure. That is a demand for a performance they are not equipped to give, and it will almost certainly make them retreat. Instead, your task is to make a fundamental shift from seeking validation to seeing the validation that is already there. Here are 3 practical steps to become fluent. First, acknowledge with calm gratitude. An over-the-top emotional reaction can feel just as overwhelming as a demand. A simple, steady, "Thank you. I really appreciate you doing that," is perfect. It validates their action without flooding their system. It calmly says, "Your effort was seen, and it is received." Second, mirror their language. The most effective way to show you understand is to speak it back. Instead of writing a love poem, quietly handle a chore they dislike. Instead of demanding a deep talk, simply bring them their favorite drink without being asked. Respond to their proof with your own proof. And third, trust the action. This requires a leap of faith. You must learn to let the action be enough. Don't dig for the verbal meaning buried beneath it. The action is the meaning. Trust that it comes from a place of care. When you respond this way, with calm, with mirroring, with trust, you do something miraculous. You are no longer a source of pressure. You become what they secretly long for most, a safe harbor. And in a safe harbor, even the most guarded ships eventually learn to drop anchor. For too long, we have been taught to measure love by its volume. We have been conditioned to search the sky for fireworks, those beautiful, spectacular, and often fleeting bursts of light that demand our attention and then vanish into smoke. But the love we have explored today, the love of the avoidant heart, is not fireworks. It is a candle. It is quiet. It is steady. It may not light up the entire sky, but it will burn consistently through the night. And in the darkest rooms of life, when you are lost and need to find your way, a steady candle is infinitely more valuable than the memory of a firework. The power is now in your hands. You are no longer navigating a relationship in the dark, wondering if you are loved. You have been given a new way to see, a new language to understand. The question is no longer, do they love me? The real question has become, am I willing to see the love that has been right in front of me all along? You have the wisdom. You have the strength. So start today. Stop listening for the thunder of a grand declaration. Start watching for the quiet, steady light of their devotion. Start listening with your